Welcome to the Sankofa Pan African series. What are bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains? How can Africans on the continent and in the diaspora learn more, invest in, and benefit from them? Our guest today is someone who is highly knowledgeable and experienced, and he will help us to answer some of these questions. Please take a moment to click on your subscription and notification buttons before we meet him. Thank you. John Okoro, Director and CEO, Auspicious Agile and Blockchain, is a blockchain enthusiast and investor. He studied for his BSc in computer science at the University of California, Irvine, and his master's in business administration at UCLA. He also has a Juris Doctorate from Southwestern Law School. John Okoro is the founder, African diaspora focused Singapore Global Blockchain Meetups. He has over 13 years of experience using agile and related methods. He has worked with Fortune 500, Global 1000 startups and government clients, including Toyota, NUS, GIC, and ICA in Singapore. He is a serial technology entrepreneur for global companies and startups with robust networks throughout the US, Asia, African nations, and the African diaspora. Welcome, John Okoro. What is it about the work you're doing that excites you in a way that our viewers would also find exciting when you explain what you're doing? In other words, tell us a bit more about your business.
I guess my business and kind of my calling or my work are together, right? So I do a lot in terms of I've been in technology for probably over 2 decades. I'm not going to date myself, but over 2 decades. And I also have done a lot in the financial space, a lot of financial services type things with banks and banking and all these things. And the business that I've started now, I'm based in Singapore, is actually basically a fintech startup, which is it combines the finance, the technology. And basically for Africa, as many of your viewers probably know, we really are not included in the financial system. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? So if you're an African, an Afro-descendant person, you want to start a business, you want to get a loan, you want funding, you want venture capital, it's almost not available to you, right? There's a statistic that there's a lot of African startups, a lot of venture capital going to Africa, but only 1 to 3%, I believe, goes to Black or African founders or African diaspora founders. So all the rest of that money is not going to us.
Mm.
And so I'd like to correct or fix that situation.
I've interviewed a few guests over the last, I think yesterday or so. Some of them who are actually saying that the current banking system, financial system, was designed, specifically to keep continents like Africa down. So I
Yes.
totally get where you're coming from.
Mhm.
So why Singapore?
Well, Singapore, I came with my wife. My wife is, you might have seen the other interviews I've done. So my wife is African American, we call it foundational African American. And she's a teacher, educator, and she came to do a Fulbright, which is a honors kind of fellowship program with the U.S. State Department. So we brought our sons and we came out here. It was our 8th year. We really loved it. We enjoyed it, right? It's very peaceful, which aligns with me. I like peaceful places, right? And a lot of I guess a lot of the tensions and stresses that we deal with day to day back in the U.S. we don't really deal with them here. So it just was a nice place. And then of course, career wise, there are a lot of opportunities. I think a lot more than you probably have back in the U.S. And certainly as an Afro descendant person, even more opportunities, I think. And then in addition to that, Singapore is a financial center. They call it one of the Asian tigers of the Asian, right? So it's one of the financial centers of the world. So as it turns out, I believe in God personally. So as God's providence would have it, he kind of put me right in the middle of one of the financial centers of the entire globe, which is really the right place to start this kind of business.
No, awesome, awesome. So to the reason why I'm so excited to talk to you, because I saw an interview you did where you actually broke down um, words like bitcoins, cryptocurrency, blockchains in a way that, for me, when it comes to things like that, I'm a totally ignorant, but you were able to explain it in a way that I'm pretty sure viewers out there will find beneficial. So tell us, what are bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains?
So I think Bitcoin, the easiest way to describe it, and it seems like most people understand it this way, think of it as digital gold, right? Most of our financial system for thousands of years, basically gold has been like the fundamental thing, right? You have gold, everybody kind of accepts the gold. Okay, this is valuable, right? Now we're moving into a digital time, right, where everything's online. You and me are meeting online. We're doing all kinds of things with Facebook or whatever it is. Hopefully not all on Facebook, but different places online. Okay, and now we need a new way to be able to move value. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, let me sell you some gold. Here's some. I'm not going to do that, right? And even bank transactions, especially for those of us from Africa or diaspora, it's not easy and fast to get money moving across in banks either, right? It can be very challenging. It takes a lot of time. If you get things to move, it can be weeks, a lot of approvals, a lot of paperwork. Bitcoin, which is like a digital gold, I can send it to you in the next 5 minutes right now. Okay. And then there are many other coins that we call altcoins. So it's not the only one. So think if Bitcoin's digital gold, we have silver, which would be Ethereum probably, okay, which is another coin, right? So that one is like that has different transactions and things it can do, and I can send that to you. That one's currently worth about $3,000. Bitcoin's for around 56,000, I think, currently each. And then there's thousands of different coins that have different what we call use cases, different uses.
No,
But Bitcoin is digital gold, and then I would think of Ethereum as probably the silver, right? And these the transaction. I can move things to you so fast and so easy that it's just very powerful.
yeah, quick layman question. So you need to send me some money, and then you electronically send me bitcoins.
Mhm.
How do I turn that into cash to be able to go and do my grocery shopping, for instance?
Yep. So number one, I would probably say don't use your Bitcoin for groceries.
Okay.
That's number one. I would probably use some other coin for groceries. I wouldn't use your Bitcoin. I want to show you why. I want to see if I can show this to you. This might be a little tricky while I'm talking, but but you could use it because a lot of places are accepting Bitcoin now, like MasterCard and Visa and PayPal. They're all using Bitcoin. I think Square, Cash App, all of these are all using Bitcoin for transactions. So there are credit cards that are using Bitcoin with behind it. Debit cards are using Bitcoin. Lots of vendors. Everybody wants more Bitcoin, all the companies. So really, you have a couple choices. One, you could use it, right? Or like I said, I'd probably keep your Bitcoin. It's like gold. You don't go spend your gold, right?
Okay.
So you might spend some other coin, like a Doge coin or Ethereum or something, because there are many different coins. I want to see if I can show you the reason for this. Give me 1 second, Wendy. I want to just see if I can show you this diagram because it's very key to understanding why you don't want to spend that Bitcoin. Let's see
Okay.
if I can find it. All right, give me a second. At any rate, yes. And what's happening is the financial system is changing so quickly that I think what you're going to see very soon is that anybody, you won't even have to go back to dollars anymore. You can just keep it in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, and you can spend that instead of having to go back and get dollars or whatever you
No,
use in your
no,
country.
I still don't understand. So you send me the Bitcoin, but
Yes,
it's not in a good idea for me to spend it on things like grocery. So I'm guessing that it will probably be better for me to save it so that the value increases. Is that it?
absolutely.
Yes,
I,
but when I do need it for, say, maybe a capital expense,
Mhm.
how do I turn it into cash? Can I only spend it online as well?
There are many gateways, right? So in America, there's Coinbase. They just went public. You ever heard of Coinbase?
No.
Coinbase is a company, they just went public on the stock market, I think NASDAQ. Okay. So there you can think of them like a bank for Bitcoin. So you can connect it to your regular bank account and they'll
Oh,
send the Bitcoin through to your regular bank account, right? And
okay.
they'll turn that into dollars or into Canadian dollars or whatever it is you use, right? In your country, whatever country you might be in. So there are a lot of gateways like that. Binance is another one. So there are a lot of exchanges where you can exchange from Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency into what we call fiat, which would be dollars or pounds or euros or whatever it is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you just said something that so bitcoins are different from cryptocurrency. How?
Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but Bitcoin is like the original one, right? Bitcoin
Oh,
is like the daddy of all cryptocurrencies, right? So every other cryptocurrency, we have thousands of them. We call them altcoins because they're alternatives to Bitcoin.
altcoins. So
Alt, alternative, right? So we call these altcoins because they're like an alternative to Bitcoin, if that makes sense, right? So what happens is that, okay, here's a picture I wanted to show you. Let me see if I can share my screen without embarrassing myself completely. Can you see that picture?
yes.
Okay, this is why you don't want to spend your Bitcoin money. Okay, you can see the dollar there. But it
Yeah.
used to be 1929. I don't know if we could have bought anything with it, but if you had dollars in 1929, you could have bought a basket full of groceries. In
Mhm.
1960, you could buy some groceries, and now you can buy like 5 or 6 items, okay, for $20 in
Yeah.
America. Okay. On the other hand, Bitcoin in 2012, right, you can buy a few things that used to be worth like $10 or something. Okay.
Mhm.
In 2013, it went up to I think like 1,000 or 500,000. You can buy more now. Well, 2014, I think it went to like I don't know 2,000, 3,000. I'm not sure what it was. Today, it's worth nearly $60,000. Okay,
Wow.
so and in the future, we expect it to go up to probably six digits. Over $100,000 this year, very likely. Not
Mm.
a price prediction, but very likely. And probably in by the mid 2020s, it could be worth over $1 million.
Wow.
Okay. So that's why I'm telling you, you'd be very sad. So if somebody back in 2010, they bought a pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin. That
Mm.
was before Bitcoin was really worth anything. That 10,000 Bitcoin today is worth about $6 million, if I kind of correctly in my head.
Mm.
Okay. So that's a very expensive pizza. So you don't want to go and say, you know what? I spent $6 million on the basket of groceries,
Okay.
right?
Okay. So an investment in Bitcoin should be seen as a kind of legacy investment,
Yes.
investment for the future,
Yep.
the kind of investment that you want to maybe leave for your children.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
So this is generational wealth, right? This is
Generational
creating
wealth.
generational wealth.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do is go and spend it. There's a reason that all these corporations and everybody want your Bitcoin is because they know there's a limited amount and it's going to be very valuable. So they want the Bitcoin because they know this is going to be worth a lot of money.
Mm. And then what is to stop, say, the US in future? I mean, or China, or any of these highly developed superpowers
Mm-hmm.
to try and curb, the way in which the Bitcoin appreciates, because apparently it's is it not in a way competing with, say, the US dollars? From the illustration you just gave, it looks like the rate at which the cryptocurrencies are appreciating is way more than the US can ever hope to do.
So yes and no, right? The US already knows that the dollar is devaluing. Okay.
Okay.
It's devaluing not because of Bitcoin, it's devaluing because they keep printing money. They're printing a lot of money, and especially now that we're dealing with COVID, right? There's printing even more money. So the more money they print, the less it's worth. I'll give you an example. If we live by the beach and if we live somewhere and we use seashells for money, they used to use seashells for money, right?
Mm.
If we use seashells for money and there's not a lot of them around, well, my seashells are pretty valuable. You're like, hey, this will be 10 seashells. And you're happy when I pay you 10 seashells. But if we live next to the beach and there's a millions of seashells everywhere, I go, I'm going to give you 10 seashells. How much are my seashells worth? That's what the US is doing with the dollar. Okay. They're printing so many that it's only amount, some people estimate it's devaluing about 15 to 20% every year.
Mm. So it's
Okay.
actually their
So
interest too for the Bitcoins to keep appreciating.
Yeah, because basically what's happening is not necessarily so much that Bitcoin is going up, it's that the dollar is going down. So it takes you more dollars to be able to buy a Bitcoin because your dollars are less valuable.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I know that not every African country or Caribbean country are currently allowing trading in bitcoins. Which countries are cryptocurrencies legal?
Most African countries, I think the Caribbean may be a little bit ahead of this, honestly. My mom, I think, as you may know, is from Trinidad and Tobago, so I keep up on the Caribbean.
Okay.
But the Caribbean, I would say, may be a little bit ahead of this because they have a lot of wealthy people who go to the
Yeah.
Caribbean because of tax advantages. And they allow, as far as I know, I haven't heard of any that don't allow Bitcoin. I think they seem to allow it pretty easily. African countries, Nigeria, where that's from, they had banned it, although they've backed off on that now. So they're not banning it anymore, which is
Oh,
good because it wasn't really a good idea to ban it in the first
yeah.
place.
So
Um,
anybody from the
yeah,
continent can invest um, in cryptocurrencies?
let's put it this way. Um, Anybody can really access it now. The question is, what will your government say? So even when Nigeria had banned it, it was still the second largest cryptocurrency Bitcoin market in the world. So
Really?
yes. So the ban really didn't mean anything,
Okay. Because this
right?
is
So
not under
yeah,
the control of any one uh, central bank of any country. Is that the reason why?
yeah, it's not. It's basically the money of the internet, right? So it's Andreas Antonopoulos. I like his books on this topic, right? He has really good books, The Internet of Money. He says it's unstoppable money, right?
Mm,
It means I can spend it anywhere, I can send it to anyone, and I don't have to ask anyone's permission,
mm.
right? That's why governments are scared of it, but that's also why it's so powerful.
Okay,
And
so
that's why it's so good for Africa. Yeah. That's why
yeah,
it's so good for Africa.
yeah, but it can be good and bad because in a lot of African countries now where we're dealing with terrorism, terrorists being funded from outside and things like that, doesn't it make it easier for them to get money into countries where they need to to cause havoc?
Um, I'm going to try to give you a politically correct answer for me.
Okay.
Okay, so the politically correct answer, I'm not going to be able to be very politically correct. Um, a lot of these terrorists are frankly funded by other countries that have interest in Africa, right?
Mhm.
And they're not using Bitcoin. They're probably using the banking system.
Why are they not using bitcoins? If
Why would they need to, right? I mean, think about it. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, the Memoirs of a Economic Hitman. Okay, it was by this guy who used to work for like the IMF or the World Bank, and he wrote about basically how they would go and give loans to African countries, developing countries, and when you have a deal you can't refuse, right? And
yeah.
then when the country couldn't make good on the loan, they would take their infrastructure, they would
Mm,
take their ports, they would privatize everything and take all their economics, right? And obviously, if there was some president who's like, I'm a good guy or I'm a good lady, I'm not going to go along with this, suddenly they disappeared and they got replaced by another president. Okay. So they didn't need any Bitcoin for that. They didn't need Bitcoin to do that. And if you want a statistic on this, let me give you a statistic because everybody always gets that line Bitcoin for crime, Bitcoin crime. You hear that all the time, right? Which is really just not accurate because I would say, from what I've heard, statistically, less than 1% of Bitcoin transactions are criminal transactions, right? I would say a lot more US dollar transactions are criminal transactions.
so it's safer. So we didn't talk about blockchains yet. So what are blockchains and how are they different from cryptocurrencies? Now that we know that Bitcoin is just an example of a cryptocurrency.
Yeah. So there was an example that was used. I've forgotten where that was used, but I liked it, which is basically that you can think of blockchain as a tree, right? So everything kind of flows and grows from the tree, and the fruit from the tree is the Bitcoin. That's what you can use get the fruits, right? Which is the Bitcoin. Blockchain is really the underlying network that allows all this to happen. And then the fruit or the coins, the Bitcoins, you can send them across that network anywhere you want. So the blockchain is the tree or the network that everything goes through, but then the Bitcoins are like the fruit of that tree, right? So you're able to send Bitcoin because you have this blockchain network.
Okay. And your company, you're into blockchains? You
Yes. So we do several things. We do education, which we're actually doing. We do some classes, things like that. But we also have a platform, a fintech platform to allow for crowdfunding. So if you've heard of Kickstarter or Indiegogo or GoFundMe, we're basically doing that for Africa, right? But one of the ways that we're able to do that is using blockchain. So basically, we are able to say, hey, there's 100 of us in Canada and the US and the UK, and we want to fund this African project. We want to fund this agribusiness in Ghana or in Tanzania, this mine or whatever. We want to help this local African, who wants to start this business or this project. We can crowdfund, but often people will not actually have a bank account or not have access to a full financial system to receive funds. So then we can actually send them the funds using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency, obviously in accordance with their local regulations, if there are any. But we can do that. And so our platform, our auspicious agile blockchain, our ScanPay platform is for sending crowdfunding for Africa from the diaspora and from friends of Africa.
and what's your platform called?
It's called, so our company is Auspicious Agile and Blockchain, and the platform is called ScanPay.
Okay, okay. And people can always reach out to you with further questions or training requests. I'm sure.
Yes, I can provide my contact information, and they can also go to
We,
auspiciousblockchain.com, which is our website. And we also sponsor and fund or support the Wakanda blockchain meetups. So we have the Wakanda blockchain and cryptocurrency meetup. That's more for education. So anybody who's interested in the diaspora and learning about this, they can go to meetup.com and go look for Wakanda cryptocurrency and blockchain. So, Wakanda from the Black Panther movie, right?
yeah.
Or they can also we have a Telegram group, and I can give you a link for that. So we have discussion and chat all the time, about different things happening in diaspora, about, learning about cryptocurrency, learning about Bitcoin, learning about blockchain, and the latest news and discussion.
Okay. So I've also heard, I mean, there's a lot of buzz about, how cryptocurrency can transform Africa and the Caribbean economies and things like that. But I still don't see it. Can you share some of the ways you think it can positively impact the economies of African countries and then Caribbean countries?
So we are a very early stage right now, right? I mean, it's early days. Like you said, you're just starting to understand it. I think a lot of people are just starting to understand it. So it's
Mm.
very early. We're not like at the advanced stage. I'm a technology guy. So, I kind of got this earlier because I'm a technology guy, right? So I'm like, okay, this makes sense to me. But that's because I spent my entire career. In fact, I was coding and programming since I was 6 years old. Okay, so I mean, for me, this just makes perfect sense. But if you don't have that background, it's going to take most people are getting it little, just starting to get it, right? So here's the example I would give. China, right? When I was growing up, I grew up in the U.S., right? Grew up in Florida, and China, really wasn't the big power they are now, right? Back then, it was like, oh, made in China. Oh, that's not very good quality, et cetera, et cetera. That was so China didn't have a very strong reputation. But then here's what they did is they started to get all their diaspora. They said, hey, come back, bring your skills from the West. They also started manufacturing and building everything. And their wireless, which was very interesting, they didn't have all the telecommunications, all the wired telecommunication. And instead, they just went straight to wireless. So now they got really good at technology. They have really great wireless technology. And obviously, they are now rivaling America in terms of their capabilities, right? Some even say they might have started to surpass us. I don't know. But anyway, they are rivaling America. Okay. Now,
Americans would like to hear that. So
yeah, I don't know. I'm just what I've heard. So at any rate, the way they did that was basically by leapfrogging. They didn't go and start doing all the wired technology. They went straight to wireless. They went straight to the next generation technology. Now for Africa and the Caribbean and African diaspora, we really don't have the banking system, like you said, right? We don't. We just don't. So if people are like, oh, let's go get the banking system, well, that technology is on its way out. Okay. So instead, what we should do is go directly to blockchain and Bitcoin and start using it in all of our financial transactions and all of our companies, all of our, moving of money to people back and forth. By doing that, we leapfrog just like China did. So instead of going and trying to set up all these banks and, oh, how do we get connected to the Swift network? We just go right to blockchain and Bitcoin and we do that instead. And so we do the same thing that China did. And then Africa and the African diaspora could frankly be a global power, honestly.
Oh, okay. And this is not just for countries, and institutions, but individuals like you and I and people on the continent or people in the Caribbean can also start doing this. How? I mean, say someone who's watched this now,
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, I want to explore this further. I really want to get into, this Bitcoin and cryptocurrency thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first step?
Okay, so the first step, I would suggest they join probably our Wakanda meetups and maybe
Okay.
watch some of the videos with the introduction videos that we
Okay.
have so they can learn about it. We have some good introduction videos that are posted. I have some posted on my YouTube channel as well. We can link to that because a lot of people just don't know where to start. But
Yeah.
one of the things you want to do once you do, I'm going to share my screen again. Like I told you, there's a lot of different cryptocurrencies. Let's see, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Bitcoin.
this is Bitcoin, which is quite expensive, although you can still buy a little bit. I still suggest buying a little bit because you don't have to buy a
One
whole.
Bitcoin cost almost $60,000.
That's what I was telling you. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, but there are coins that are much cheaper, right? So you could buy Dogecoin, which is becoming very popular, for 38 cents. You
Okay.
can buy Cardano for $1.34. Okay. So
Okay.
there are coins which are much cheaper. These are top 10 coins, you can see. Okay.
Mm-mm.
So I would suggest somebody, once they have watched the webinar and learned basically, go open an account at Coinbase or at Binance, one of the main major exchanges, and then you could buy a little bit of Bitcoin if you want. You could buy $10 worth, $100 worth if you want. You don't have to buy a whole one. Or, buy some Dogecoin, buy some Cardano. I'm not suggesting specific coins, by the way. People should do their own research so they can ask in our group. They can ask questions if they want to. But first thing, watch the video, learn how to basically, open an account and do that. Then go to Coinbase or Binance, buy some, put it in your own wallet, and then start to get it in your wallet so that you can start to use it either for transactions or just you can even earn interest on this. You can earn interest like on Ethereum. You can earn interest on it like 5 or 6%, I think. You can earn interest on Cardano. So quite like in the bank right now, how much interest do you get in the bank now?
It depends on where you live. Yeah.
Okay, in America, probably we're getting like 0.0000001%,
Mm-hmm.
right? So basically nothing.
Mm.
In cryptocurrencies, you can actually make interest. So
Okay.
that's nice.
Oh.
So there's places like BlockFi, where you can do interest. Exodus is one of the wallets. You can earn interest like 5, 6, 7%, depending on the coin. So that's some pretty nice interest when banks are paying zero.
Thank you. This is a real enlightening
Now
interview.
let's take a look at something too. Remember we talked about Bitcoin? Let's take a look at the chart for this, okay? So yes, it's almost $60,000 today, but if you had bought it back in 2015, you can see it was $225. Okay. Back in, was that 2013? It was $135, et cetera, et cetera. Like it was less than $100 when you get back before 2013. Okay. And now obviously it's been going up. So if you look at the trend, it's just up, 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 up. Okay. And the reason for that is because there's only a limited supply. You see here it says 18,000, 18,687,000 of these, right? There's only going to be 21 million of these ever. See that?
Mm.
This is
So,
why all the companies are racing to get it because there's only going to be that many ever minted.
mm, okay, so you buy it, but do you have to trade, like maybe get on the market every once in a while and do stuff with it to be able to get your currencies to appreciate the way you do with stocks?
No,
You
you can
just
just
buy
hold
it
it.
and you can just buy
Buy
it.
and hold, right? They call it in crypto, they call it HODL, hold on for dear life, I believe, right? So
Okay.
that basically means you just take it, you put it in your personal wallet. I recommend putting it in your own personal wallet. You can
Okay.
explain that in the training, the webinar, and then just go ahead and hold it, right? All you have to do to get this price appreciation is just hold it. You don't have to trade it. You don't have to do anything else with it. And like I said, Bitcoin, think of it as digital gold. You don't want to keep on trading your gold every day.
Mm. Mm. Thank you very, very much, John, um, for all these explanations and for being a part of the Sankofa Pan
But I
Africans.
want to give one other explanation as well, actually.
Mhm.
One thing that's very important, and this comes up a lot, because a lot of times people in the West, in America and Canada, or even, here, Singapore, Asia, in more developed financial markets, they always go, oh, well, I might get Bitcoin, but I might buy stocks, I might buy real estate, right? It's just like an option. It's one of the asset classes you could get. And that's true, even though it's the best performing asset, by the way, over like the last 10 years. But it's only one asset class. On the other hand, in Africa and developing nations, it's the way that you prevent, like if you're in Zimbabwe and you wanted your money not to just go away,
Ah,
you need to, or if you need to send money to your family member in another African country or someplace else, you can do it like this, where you could never do it if you didn't have this. So it's a very different use case, we call it, in Africa and the developing world. This is not just like, oh, this is a nice investment. This is like, how do I preserve my money? How do I send money? How do I keep it from being destroyed?
mm.
So this is a very different, because a lot of African currencies are devaluing much
It
more quickly
can
than that.
also can be very volatile, very erratic, like the naira.
Yeah.
Uh, Say 3, 4 years back, you could still maybe get the naira for like about 200 naira to $1. Today, it's more like 500 naira to $1. So if you had invested, say, $10 on cryptocurrency 2, 3, 4 years ago, and the, going by the rate of the naira now,
Mhm.
your cryptocurrency, your dollar would have continued to
I
up.
mean, let's take a look, right? So let's say that you would have done, like you said, I don't know what the translation was for Naira, but $10 back a year ago. Okay. So let's take a look at a year ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you bought your crypto a year ago. It was about $9,000 for one, right? So let's just say that you bought, you know, whatever it was. So that's about 9,000. Today we are a little under 60,000. So about six times. So your $10, if you bought $10, would be 60. If you bought 1,000, that'd be 6,000. And if you bought 10,000, it'd be 60,000.
Mm. And that explains why you actually mentioned earlier that Nigeria is one of the biggest uh, markets. It's because the naira has been very, very
Yeah.
unstable. Yeah,
And
yeah.
the government really thought, well, hey, at least I assume that's what they thought. Hey, we'll protect the currency by stopping Bitcoin, but that's not good because Nigeria has a lot of fintechs, a lot of people who are doing really innovative
Yeah.
startups. My own cousin, who are doing innovative startups, and when you stop them from using Bitcoin, then what you're doing is you're stopping innovation. That's not good, right?
Mm,
You want to support it because not Nigeria is going to need to replace or supplement oil income in the future.
mm,
So if you start getting some good fintech, you start getting Nigeria's got really bright people, right? We can start to really get people going in this space. That's what we should be doing, right? Not saying, hey, we ban it. And I'm glad they backed off on the ban because that didn't make any sense.
indeed.
This is a new financial system.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. You've certainly cleared a lot of my questions, and I'm definitely going to look into it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sankofa Pan African series channel, like our videos, and please share them with your contacts.